Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation in Spain. Day 174 of the current situation, and today it's all about some new restrictions that are going to be implemented in Madrid in order to stop the spread of the virus. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as always. A big thanks to people that supported the channel by buying merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now, it's all about some new restrictions that the Madrid government is going to announce today. However, confinement has, for the time being, ruled out, which is good news for the people in that autonomous community. We can see here that the Chief Health Officer, Mr. Simon, yesterday spoke of a stabilization phase, and he does not see it as logical to confine Madrid now. He said that right now it does not seem logical to me to propose a confinement on Madrid because we are not in a situation that requires one. The doctor explained that it's something that is always on the cards, and that if it has to be done, it will have to be done. Something that would happen if conditions change drastically. I believe that Madrid has other alternatives that they could act on. If I'm not mistaken, between today and tomorrow, it will communicate new measures. So a confinement of Madrid City and the Madrid region ruled out for now by health experts in Spain. However, as I mentioned, more restrictions are going to be announced today. We can see here that Madrid is to implement new restrictions after pressure from neighbouring regions. Castilla y León and Castilla-La Mancha are calling for coordinated action given fears over the exportation of cases from the capital, similar to what took place during the first wave. So Castilla y León and Castilla-La Mancha extremely worried about the health situation in Madrid, and the president of Castilla-La Mancha yesterday called Madrid a radioactive viral bomb. So Madrid needing to get the health situation under control and keep its neighbours happy. What are they going to do? Let's have a look here. Madrid will reduce the amount of people that can frequent outdoor seating areas at bars and restaurants. They're going to reduce the amount of people that can attend wakes and meetings with a large concentration of people, like for example weddings. The new protocols on capacity are expected to be activated before Sunday, once they are announced today, Friday. According to the Madrid health officer, Mr. Ruiz Escudero, the community will take measures according to the epidemiological situation, in the sense of containing where we have detected that these outbreaks have occurred more frequently in the family environment, at outdoor seating areas, at wakes and mass events. We must establish a series of measures to control the situation, and also when it comes to mobility. So there we go, Madrid going to announce a series of measures to control the outbreaks in the region, limiting the amount of people that can get together in one spot, and also, as we saw, some possible restrictions on mobility. So it might just be that people in the Madrid community might not be allowed to travel to other autonomous communities around the country. But we'll see what the exact restrictions are when they are made later today. Now we'll have a look at the current health situation in Spain. We can see here that COVID spreads in Spain 10 times faster than in Germany, Italy or the UK. The rate of infections in the last 14 days per 100,000 inhabitants in Spain is 227.5, well above any other country in the Union. France at 96.6, Romania 84.4, Malta 86.5, or Croatia at 87.3, although with worrying numbers, they do not exceed 100 according to ECDC statistics. Now we'll have a look at the map and graph from El Confidencial newspaper. We can see here the map of the evolution of cases accumulated in the last 14 days per 100,000 inhabitants. And on the right we can see the graph of diagnosed cases and deaths on a 7-day average. And if we have a look at the data for the last 7 days, we can see that infections are down 2.22%, hospitalizations are up 1.2%, and deaths are up 7.9% on previously published figures. Now, if we have a look at some of the data in the autonomous communities, we can see that Madrid is sitting on 467.42 cases of accumulated cases in the last 14 days per 100,000 inhabitants. The Balearic Islands have cracked the 200 mark at 214.62. Detected cases are also on the rise in Cantabria, sitting now at 202.04 cases. And Asturias is still the autonomous community in Spain with the lowest amount of cases per 100,000 inhabitants accumulated over the last 14 days at 51.04 cases. But very interesting to see the difference between Cantabria and Asturias. Cantabria, of course, with over 200 cases and Asturias at 50. So a big difference there between those two neighbouring autonomous communities, and I wonder what the reason is. Now we'll have a look at some news about the economy and job destruction. We can see here that Spain experienced Europe's worst job destruction in the first half of the year. A strict lockdown, a reliance on tourism and a high rate of temporary contracts help explain why employment decreased by around 8%. Old habits die hard. Spain is once again the European country that has shed the most jobs in times of crisis. With the coronavirus pandemic still raging in many countries, job destruction in the first half of the year was nearly 3 times higher in Spain than in other European countries. And this figure does not take into account all the furloughed workers still under Spain's ERTE scheme, which allows employers to temporarily send staff home or reduce their working hours. Once this state-funded job protection program ends, a clearer picture will emerge on the true impact of the coronavirus on unemployment. Other EU countries have introduced similar programs to combat the impact of COVID-19 on their economies. However, the over-reliance on temporary contracts has been a problem in Spain since the system was first used in the 1980s as a way to create jobs. No government has come up with an effective reform. Former Labour Minister Fatima Báñez of the PP presented a plan that was never completed, and the Economy Ministry's current plans for a severance pay-based system on Austria's backpack model has been moved to the back burner due to the coronavirus crisis. So job destruction, again, a huge problem in Spain. And of course, we don't know the true figures because the job protection scheme is still in place. And as we saw, numerous governments have come up with schemes to try to fix the problem, but no government has been able to do it. So what's the problem? Now, on the topic of the furlough scheme, the Labour Minister Yolanda Díaz came out yesterday and said that it will be extended as long as necessary. The scheme, which is currently due to end later this month, will continue to provide furloughed workers with 70% of their base salary for the first 6 months before dropping to 50% for the following months, she said. So the job protection scheme to be extended for as long as it's necessary. Now, of course, as we know, one of the main worries in Spain is about children starting the school year again. As I mentioned yesterday, there was a very critical article in the New York Times with the headline, "In Spain, nightlife is more important than schools. The country needs an education revolution." Soccer, beaches, bullfights and discos. Spain's priorities for reopening its economy after months of confinement read like a declaration of the government's vision for the country. Just days before the school year begins, our politicians have finally decided to tackle what they seem to consider least urgent, the education of millions of students. The political parties have been unable to agree on education legislation for over 4 decades. Parents, teachers and students justifiably despair at the changes each new administration brings, none of them confronting the real problems. For years, more energy has been wasted discussing whether religion classes should count towards grades. They should just let the parents choose, than in getting students to master English, understanding a literary text, or acquire basic scientific knowledge. Spain has the worst youth dropout rate in the European Union, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development's PISA report on academic excellence in the sciences shows Spanish students scoring below the average. Those who go on to higher education enroll in universities that, with few exceptions, are disconnected from the job market and mired in bureaucratic paralysis with little regard for innovation. No Spanish university ranks among the world's top 150, according to Shanghai Ranking. So some serious criticism there being thrown at the Spanish government and the education system in general in Spain. It seems that the problems that Spain has with education, and as we saw before with the job market, are just too hard to fix, too hard for the politicians to deal with. And we can see, as this article says, where their priorities lie, and they're not with education or helping people get good jobs. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from the last video. One here from PS, a coronavirus super spreader in the Canaries. Stuart, you even sit there and say it with a straight face. Yeah, thanks for the comment, and even though I do read out some of these strange stories with a straight face, I do occasionally have the odd chuckle as well, because a lot of the things that have been going on over the last 6 months are extremely strange, extremely new, and every day there's a piece of news that takes it to a new level, like the super spreader in the Canary Islands. One here from Discuss, I don't get the park closing from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. I get it's to limit young people drinking there, but will they not just go elsewhere and do the same? Yeah, thanks for the comment, and you're right, they might go somewhere else and try to continue their street drinking, but the reason they go to parks is that they can find an open space. But the reason a lot of these botellons or drinking parties take place in parks is because they can find a place where they're out of the public eye. If you go into the middle of a big park, of course, the noise is not going to bother people. People won't call the police as quickly as they would if you were doing it in the street underneath somebody's bedroom. And that's one of the problems in a big city like Madrid, that you can't find a lot of places where there aren't other people. And that is, in my opinion, why people go to parks. If you're living on the outskirts of a city, you can find open spaces, but if you're in the middle of a city in Spain, it's hard to find a place to be alone. And of course, a lot of young people live with their parents, so they can't have the party there. Want to hear from Amanda? Thanks for keeping us up to date. I've been following your videos since the lockdown started. We moved from Greece to Spain just over 3 weeks ago. We came by van using ferries and was very impressed by the way the Italians and Spanish are dealing with the current crisis. Now that we are here in Almeria province, I have been reassured by the fact that everyone is wearing masks and social distancing everywhere we go. It is always a challenge moving to a new country and learning a new language, even more so at the moment when meeting people and getting to know a new country and culture is so restricted. What advice would you give? Yeah, Amanda, thanks for the comment. I've seen a few of your comments over the last few months about your journey coming to Spain, and glad to see that you are finally here. Unfortunately, it's not going to be easy to get to know people and the country at the moment because of the restrictions in place. People obviously are not as social as they used to be. It's not easy to go out and socialize anymore and meet new friends, but I'm sure it's just a question of time. But learning the language should be a bit easier because you can do that online nowadays. One here from Australia. Hi Stuart, we live in South Sydney and I catch your videos every day. I was born in beautiful Sevilla and came to Australia 45 years ago. I met an Aussie in Spain and we raised our family here. We are looking forward to be able to visit our family again. Keep up the good work with the videos and stay safe, and thanks again, Estrella and Bob. Yeah, Estrella, thanks for the comment. You're basically in the opposite situation to me. I met a girl and came to Spain. You met a man and went to Australia. And I can imagine that you are looking forward to again one day coming back to Spain, visiting your family, which at the moment is a difficult thing to do. And to be honest, it's something that has been on my mind a lot lately. When will I be able to travel back home to Australia? I don't know, but hopefully, as I always say, it's sooner rather than later. One here from admin. Hello Stuart, driving over lemons. Age 17, Chris Stewart retired as the drummer of Genesis and launched a career as a sheep shearer and travel writer. Had he become a big-time rock star, he might never have moved with his wife Anna to a remote mountain farm in Andalusia. A very good, enjoyable read. I do believe you will enjoy it, Stuart. By the way, I live in Los Alcazares, Murcia. My family live in Caramar, 45 minutes north of Perth. Perhaps you know it. Your admin, thanks for the comment. A few people have told me about this book, and I will definitely add it to my list of books to read about Spain, although every day that list seems to get longer and longer, and I just can't find the time to read as much as I would like to. And an interesting decision to quit the band Genesis at the age of 17, considering how successful they became. And Caramar, the suburb in Perth that you mentioned, I don't really know it. I've never been there. I know that there's been a lot of growth in that northern corridor in Perth over the years, but when I left Perth, Joondalup was only just being established. So that's about as far north as I know. One here from Marjorie. We are due to holiday in Fuengirola later this month, but are still waiting to hear whether our flight will go. If we do go, we were wondering how quiet the resort will be, for example, restaurants, shops, cafes. We are also concerned that maybe there will be another lockdown while we are there. Thank you for your informative videos. Muchas gracias. Yeah, Marjorie, thanks for the comment. And to be honest, I don't know the current situation in Fuengirola, but I'm sure there are people in that area that are watching the video and can fill you in on what the situation is like there at the moment, how many people are around, if there's still any activity happening, restaurants, cafes, bars, etc. I imagine there is, but not a lot. And will there be another lockdown? Well, as we have seen, the whole country is not going to be locked down again, but there could be local lockdowns. You can't completely take a lockdown in towns, villages, cities off the cards, but it all depends on the numbers. So if you check the numbers in the area or region that you are traveling to, you should get an idea of the health situation and what they might plan to do there. One here from Tom. I must say that people are taking it a lot more serious. This morning we went to IKEA in Móstoles, Madrid, and everybody both in and around the store were following the norms impeccably. Yeah, Tom, thanks for the comment. I was in Madrid last week and all I saw were people following the rules. People wearing masks, social distancing, people cleaning their hands every time they went into a business. So the majority of people are following the rules. But something's going wrong in Spain. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but something's happening to make those numbers go up, especially in Madrid. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.